everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a new day. It is Saturday morning. It's 9:20 and Gypsy and I are outside in the garage. I apologize for the lighting. It probably looks a little darker. Because it's windy outside, I had to roll the rolling door. I had to roll it halfway down so the strong winds don't blow some of the lighter airplanes off. So, but it's not so far down that I can't see the bird feeders. So yeah. And the wind today is going to help us today with the weather because it's supposed to get up to like 20-mile-per-hour winds, and it's supposed to be real sticky today. So that's going to help with relieving some of that, if you will, hopefully. So, yeah, it's 72 degrees, feels like 76, but the dew point is already 67, so it is sticky outside. But I wanted to come out with Gypsy and go over my list of what I love about Wisconsin and go over that, do that outside and spend some time with Gypsy outside before it got too hot and sticky. And that way we spent a little time outside with her. So she's just laying here watching the squirrels. She's waiting for Chippy to come out. So I put some sunflower seeds there close to Chippy so he'd come out. But it's probably too hot for them too. But so I put on the Merlin bird app already, and it already detected a eastern bluebird, which I didn't see, but it's back there in the trees. And then I filled up the feeders, and an oriole already landed over there. So yeah, I had cardinals and blue jays, robins sitting all around. So we're good to go. So, all right. So yeah, I have my list, and I'm gonna go over what I love about Wisconsin. All right. So the first thing is it's a small town atmosphere. And it seems like no matter where you go, it's small town atmosphere. Now, where we live, there's a population of 50,000 plus. But even with that many people, it still feels small town. Now, you all have seen our backyard. And in a population of more than 50,000 people, it looks country here. And this is the edge of the city of where we live. So we have the city of where we live, and we have the town of where we live. Half of our block is town of, and half of us are city of. So we're right on the outskirts of the city limits. And look how country it is here. And it just has a small town atmosphere here, and I love that about this place. So I'm not sure how it feels in Milwaukee, but even like when we go to Oshkosh or Green Bay, still have somewhat of a small town atmosphere. Whereas in California, and like in the Central Valley, it's more farmland. It didn't quite, maybe it does now, but back then it didn't quite have that small town feel to it. So that's one thing I love about it here. The next thing is outdoor atmosphere. It's like automatic fishing, hunting, camping, hiking, outdoors here. And I'm not saying everybody is into the outdoors here, but I love that it just has that outdoor feel. Like when you go in stores, there's a poster up for some fishing event or hunting or, whatever it may be, bird watching event. So it's pretty awesome. And I'm sure California has that as well. And it's not to say they don't have it over there, because I did go fishing there, which is my next thing. So I might as well get into that. I love the fishing here. So when I was in California, in Southern California, that's where did I learn to fish there? Yes, I learned to fish in California when I lived in Oceanside, California. Oceanside is in San Diego County, the northern part of it, and I lived right near the ocean. So when I was with my ex and his two sons lived with us, his oldest son, which was, I don't know how old he was at the time, maybe like 10 or 12 years old, he actually taught me how to fish, and we used to fish at the pier in Oceanside. There's two piers, there's a small one and a big one. We fished at the small one. So I did some ocean fishing there, but we'd also go to inland lakes where we would catch bluegill, largemouth bass. Also, I used to catch like rainbow trout, catfish. So the fishing was good there as well. But what I've come to like here in the Midwest, this is my second time living in the Midwest. I've mentioned it before, but in the early 90s, when I was with my ex, he got stationed in Michigan, and we lived in Battle Creek, Michigan. I know somebody in the comments in a previous video asked where in Michigan I lived, and I lived in Battle Creek, Michigan. And there were so many lakes, and that's where I really got the first time feel of small town atmosphere, the Midwestern atmosphere. It was just amazing. That feeling is just so amazing. And so I love the fishing here. But it's not to say I didn't love it over there as well, as I was just catching different things. So some the same, some not. I have the bench right here in front, and I put sunflower seeds there, and I'm watching nuthatches and blue jays land on there. There's a blue jay right now. He's eating sunflower seeds. So, so the fishing is awesome here. Now, the fishing has gotten hard for us in the past few years with accessibility for Glenn, being on the mobility scooter. So, and a lot of the fishing spots we used to do really well at just aren't good anymore. So fishing's kind of changed for us. We haven't been fishing, I don't think, after Glenn's fall last spring. I don't know if we ever even went fishing again after that. So hopefully we will sometime. All right, and the next thing I love about Wisconsin is having 4 seasons. It is awesome to have 4 seasons. So when I was growing up, I lived in the Bay Area. So you got some coolness in the winter, but it wasn't like wintry cold, like Midwestern cold. When I moved to San Diego, because I was stationed there, it was just warm, completely warm. And I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of Southern California, San Diego included. Not LA, not San Diego, none of it. So I am not that type of person. It's very city oriented. It's on the beach where there's hundreds of people on the beach, and that's not for me. When I was living in California, I used to drive to the ocean from the Central Valley, but I like to go where there's big rocks and no people, and you sit there on the rocks and you just listen and watch the waves crash against the rocks. So yeah, back to the 4 seasons. There I go, off track again. But having 4 seasons, an actual spring where everything comes to life, and then a hot summer. When we first bought this house in 2011, now our summers can change. We can have summers where it's completely hot and humid all summer long, and we can have summers where it's very mild all summer long. The summer of 2011, when we bought this house, from day one of late spring going into summer, it was hot and humid every single day of the season. It was miserable. And it just so happened to be the year we moved here, so I had a lot of projects to do, and I was working my full-time job, being in the heat near the steam there, so I was just like in misery. Like even right now, it's sticky, and I can feel it, and I just don't, I don't like it. So I can do without summer, but I love that we have a springtime, and then we actually have a fall time. In San Diego, back then, there was no fall time. It was just summer all year round. Christmas, 80 degrees, and I didn't like that at all. So I love that the four seasons are here. Christmas, it's winter, and it feels like winter. And we've had Christmases here where we've had so much snow before Christmas, and we've had Christmases where we didn't have any snow, but it was still cold or cool. So we get cool to cold weather 7 months out of the year. So fall starts to get cool, sweater weather, and then winter gets cold. Springtime for us is called winter number 2. It's still cold. So yeah, I love having the four seasons here. The cost of gas is cheaper here. That's another thing I love about it here. All winter long and all spring, we have been below $3 a gallon. It just went up this past week to $3.09. And I'm glad I filled up the truck before it went up, because when I filled it up, it was $2.89. And then right after that, it went to $3.09. It's still sitting at $3.09. But from what I hear about gas in California, you're over $5 a gallon, which is insane. It's just like highway robbery. So the cost of gas is way cheaper. Our average is $2.89 to $3.09, whereas what it's at now. The cost to buy a house. Now, don't get me wrong, in today, houses have gone up in price here in our area as well, here in Wisconsin in general. But in California, if it's gone up here that much, you know it's gone up there that much, and it was already expensive there. So I went on Zillow the other day, and I looked at houses in Turlock, California, which is the last town I lived in, and that's the Central Valley. I actually used to call the Central Valley of California the Midwest of California, because it used to be cheap like the Midwest until people started moving there. But our house is right under 1,000 square feet, the actual house. And when we bought it, it was $70,000 with a half-acre lot. So I went on Zillow to see what a house with low, with a small square footage. So I found a couple houses that were just right around 1,000 square feet, and they go for $450,000 with hardly any yard at all. So that's a big difference. And so I looked at also the value of our property, and when we bought this house at $70,000, the value of the property was only like $100,000 or so. Now the value of our property is just under $200,000. So yeah, it's the cost to buy a house. Some houses here. Oh, Baltimore Oriole just landed. He's eating the grape jelly. So awesome. Yes, I get distracted by birds. So the cost, and I think the cost of living in general, and just by example, the gas, I guess I don't want to say the cost of living because I don't know how much food prices are in California right now. I know it's gone up everywhere. So, so yeah, I'll just compare the cost of gas to the cost of buying a house. All right. What I also love about Wisconsin is the scenery. It's so green here. In California, where I was last, you get a lot of brown, dead grass, or the terrain is just naturally brown. But here it's just so green, and I just love it. And not only because it's just green, but the scenery is just so beautiful. You have so many lakes, and if you go up north, northern Wisconsin, it's just, oh, it's beautiful. I don't even have the words for it, except it's just so beautiful. To the flip side of that, not saying California isn't beautiful. California is made up of so many different terrains. You have the desert, you have the ocean, you have the city, you have the mountains, you have the redwoods, you have the Central Valley of flatlands. I mean, so many different terrains you can go there. And I used to drive to the mountains, and it was so beautiful. It just, so California, don't get me wrong, California is also beautiful. But I'm just pointing the things I love about here. All right. And the next thing is a food item. Mini tacos and taco pizza and brats. Never heard of either one of those in California. Do they have mini tacos in California? Did I miss that bus when I was there? But I never heard of mini tacos before I got to Wisconsin. It is big here. Mini tacos are big here. They're when you order from a restaurant, like you go to buy a hamburger or whatever, mini tacos are on the appetizer menu. So if you, a lot of you that have been with us for a while on the channel, in the springtime, in the summer, we usually go to the place called the Hamburger House, our favorite place, besides Jet's Pizza. If you notice, I only order mini tacos and French fries from there. I don't order the hamburger because, going back to the things I'm not fond of, the hamburgers are made with the hard rolls. So, and it's not a traditional California burger, so I don't order the hamburgers. I always order just mini tacos and French fries, and I'm good with that. So I'm glad I was introduced to mini tacos. Taco pizza. Never heard of a taco pizza in California, and when I first moved here and we ordered taco pizza, and I was talking to my sister on the phone, she's in California, and I told her about taco pizza. She's all, what? And, she just thought that was ridiculous. There's no taco pizza. So I don't know if California has gotten to that point of a taco pizza, but yeah, taco pizza. I love taco pizza. Brats. Never heard of a brat. You might have now, but I never heard of it until I got to Wisconsin. The first night I got here and Glenn picked me up, he drove me around. It was dark, but I saw signs for brat fries. At that time, I didn't know what a brat was, so I thought it was saying brat, like in bratty kids. I thought it was saying brat fry, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are they doing to kids here? So I didn't know it was a brat. And yeah, I was just, and at first I didn't take to the brats. I was sticking with the burger still until I just started not really caring for the hard rolls. And I think I even asked Glenn, don't they make regular hamburgers here? But people in Wisconsin, that is a regular hamburger. So over time, as I ate brats more, I came to like them way more than the hamburgers here. So I love brats. All right, so the next thing I love about Wisconsin is the Friday fish fry tradition. So it is tradition here to have a Friday fish fry. And if you go out to eat on a Friday, like at a restaurant, the big thing is to get a fish fry. And Glenn and I used to do that all the time and this is when, prior to him being really immobile. We used to go, there's a fish fry place downtown called Schwartz's, and you order your fish fry there, and they got like fries and mini tacos and stuff. So on Fridays, we'd go fishing, or after work, we'd go order our fish fry and then go sit at the marina and just watch the boats and eat our fish fry. So we used to do that all the time. And then sometimes Friday, we either just fried our fish or since Glenn couldn't go out, sometimes I would just go get it and bring it home. So Friday fish fry, I like that there's a tradition on a day to eat a certain thing. Next thing I love about Wisconsin, and this is very general because you can have this in any state. Beautiful sunrise and sunset. We live near Lake Michigan, and the best place to see the sunrise is on the lake. Absolutely beautiful. Now, when I was in California, I'm not saying they don't have beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Like I said, in any state you can see a beautiful sunrise and sunset. But things were different for me back then. It was a faster paced life, and I didn't stop to smell the roses as much, if you will. So for me back then, when somebody says stop and smell the roses, my version or what stopping to smell the roses were for me was driving to the ocean, sitting on the rocks and watching the waves and listening to the waves crash against the rocks. That was my version of stopping to smell the roses, just taking it all in. But I didn't do that often in California, so I didn't stop to see a sunrise or a sunset that often. Here, especially at our house here, where I sleep in the house, when I look out the window in the morning, I see the sun coming up. I see a fireball through our window, so I can see a beautiful sunrise. When it's time for the sunset, you walk out to the backyard and out in our backyard, you can see the beautiful colors of the sunset, the pink and purple and orange, just different colors of the sunset. You can see that here. So that's what I love. This next one is about Christmas. So what I love about Wisconsin is it gave me my first Christmas feeling like we were in a Hallmark movie. Now, I've always been a dreamer, if you will. Since I was a kid, I always dreamed about being in nature, being in those, I wanted to be in those Christmas movies. And my first year here, I got here in January 2003, our first Christmas together. We did so many things for Christmas, so many events, and keep in mind Glenn was walking back then. We went to Maywood, and we took a hay ride in a wagon, and we roasted marshmallows, and with just so many different things we did during Christmas. But the thing that really, all of it together made me feel like I was in a Hallmark movie, and I got my wish. The event, it was Christmas, it was called Christmas Memoirs, and it was a Christmas event in the next town over, and they had the whole area, the shops and everything, they had, everything was for Christmas. You go in craft shops, they had stands with snacks, and then they had it set up where they're going to have a parade, a Christmas parade. And this was my first Christmas just experiencing all this amazing Christmas feeling, what I've always wanted. And that event particular, Glenn and I walked up and down the streets. It was cold that day. It was snowing. It was perfect. And we walked up and down the streets. We went in some stores, got some stuff. And later that night, we got kettle corn. It's the first time I ate kettle corn. That's what got me hooked on kettle corn. And later, when it started to get dark, they're going to have the Christmas parade. So we actually walked into a coffee shop, and this was like so cool. I'd never been in a coffee shop, and just for a Christmas event. So we went in there, we got some hot chocolate, sat at the counter. It was a Christmas movie, so perfect, and I was just in heaven. So we drank our hot chocolate, and then we came out to the streets, stood in the street while the parade was going on, and the people giving out candy in the parade, they gave us each a bag of kettle corn, a small bag, and 2 small candy canes. And to this day, if those of you that remember my Christmas decorations, I still have, or we still have, but I kept them, those 2 small bags of kettle corn. And up to 2 years ago, I had those small candy canes, those exact ones that were handed to us. But for some reason, they ended up melting or something, and they got destroyed. But every Christmas, when I decorate for Christmas, I put out those 2 bags of kettle corn, and I used to have those candy canes taped to them. They were still in the package. And that's just as a wonderful memory of our first Christmas together. And the Christmas, that made us feel like we were in a Hallmark movie. And that year I also bought a bunch of Christmas decorations, knickknacks or whatever, and I like to put those out because it reminds me of our first Christmas. So yeah, Wisconsin gave me my first Christmas feeling like I was in a Hallmark movie. All right, the next thing I love about Wisconsin is it brought me in touch with nature. Now, I have always wanted to be in nature. I always loved nature, but in California, it was too fast-paced for me. I didn't stop enough to enjoy it. I wasn't a bird watcher in California until I got here. Hold on, I gotta hook my power pack onto the camera. Battery's running low. So I'll try to talk as I'm going. So when I got to Wisconsin and just seeing all the nature that was here and us going fishing and taking country drives, and it was just amazing, and it really put me in touch with nature. So as far as the bird watching, I wasn't a bird watcher when I was in California. It's not that I didn't like birds, I just didn't stop enough to bird watch. So, of course, I brought a power pack that's almost dead. Anyway, so when I got a job, that job I worked at for 12 years, I was working with a girl who loved bird watching. So she told me about, she would talk about the birds. So then I thought I would just, when we bought this house, I started putting out bird feeders, and all of a sudden I was just hooked from there. But my very first bird photo was taken at the marsh of the Cedar Waxwing. And I think we still lived in the side-by-side back then, but I wasn't still an avid, I didn't have bird feeders or anything back then. So being here in Wisconsin really put me in touch with nature, and it soothes my soul. So we're almost done. The next one is what I've been talking about. It really made me slow down and smell the roses. It just, yeah, I can't even put it into words how it makes me feel just being around nature all the time, and just the fact that I have slowed down to just take it all in is an amazing feeling. And the last one is what I love about Wisconsin is I found the love of my life here, and we built a life and a home here in Wisconsin. So that is the biggest thing, because if I didn't find the love of my life, I wouldn't have had all the other things to go with it. But I wanted to save it for the last. So yes, that's the last one. I found Glenn here, and we have built our home here, our fur baby family, and yeah. So that is everything. There's probably things I'm going to think of later on, but so when I first got here, I always said if something ever happened to Glenn, I would just go back to California and be near my family. If you were to ask me that now, I am home. If something were to happen to Glenn, I'm already home. This is our home. And I wouldn't even think about moving back to California. I would visit. I would surely want to visit so I could see my family. But I wouldn't move back, because we made a home here, and this is my home, and I love it. I love the Midwest, and I've always wanted, since I first lived in the Midwest in Battle Creek, Michigan, it just gave me such an amazing feeling, such a different atmosphere. So that is everything I love about Wisconsin. My battery's about to die, so I'm going to end this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. I appreciate all of you and the support you give my channel. And with that, remember to live life, be good to yourself, and be good to others. Until next time.